Hello, my love. Welcome to another episode of Blistopia podcast. I am your host, Mercedes Castellani. And this week, I want to talk about a topic that comes up a lot during my coaching sessions. And that topic is emotions. Because unfortunately, society has trained us into thinking that some emotions are good, some emotions are bad. But I don't necessarily agree with that. And I want to share a different perspective on this topic with you. So even though it is true that some emotions are easier, they provide more pleasure, it's easier and nicer to feel them. And other emotions are a bit more messy, a bit more complicated. They are certainly not pleasurable and very difficult to process sometimes. Even though that is true, and in some of them there's pleasure, some of them there's not pleasure, no emotion is good or bad. Emotions just are. And emotions are actually a signal that your inner world is sending to you so that you can act accordingly, make changes accordingly. So it's giving you a sign on what is happening on your inner world and what to do next. So emotions are energy in motion. It's an emotion, energy in motion. It's energy that wants to express, to move, to release, to create change. So it is giving you very important information on your needs, your desires, the boundaries that you need to reinforce, how to grow. So I find it quite a pity that we are not diving into these emotions, understanding these emotions, which emotion is arising, first of all, the awareness of which emotion do I actually feel, and what is this emotion actually telling me? What do I need to know? And what do I need to do now that I have this information? So that what I want to do and share on this podcast episode is the 5 core human emotions. And we're going to be dissecting them so that we can understand the message that each emotion is trying to bring to the surface and how you can process these emotions in the healthiest and most kind of even efficient way, because this emotion again is trying to send you a message. So if you listen to that message, you acknowledge what is going on with love, with compassion, and then you create some can be minor changes in your life or big changes depending on what the emotion is asking you to do, then you can actually live with much more alignment. So instead of suppressing the emotions, we're listening to them. We let them come to the surface. We take their valuable information and then we make changes in our lives. So we're going to cover 5 emotions. We're going to cover anger, sadness, disgust, fear, and joy. And as I said, we're going to go very deeply into each and every one of them so that you can understand what this emotion is actually all about. So let's dive into the first one, anger. This is a very, very powerful emotion. And this emotion is really related to your boundaries and self-respect. So what happens is that when anger arises, when you get angry, it's because one of your boundaries or many of your boundaries have been crossed. It shows that there's a limit that you had and it has been crossed. It shows that your values have been threatened, things that you consider important have been threatened. And it shows that your self-respect, so the image that you have of yourself, has been violated, disrespected. So what anger does is we realize that there's a limit that has been trespassed, one of our values that has been trespassed, our self-respect that has been trespassed. So what anger does is it actually brings strength forward. It's a lot of strength so that you can actually re-establish that limit, that boundary that has been crossed. And what is interesting, and that's why self-respect is also so linked to this emotion, is that many times we're not pissed off about the situation so much. We are pissed off that we allowed someone to treat ourselves in a certain way, or we have treated ourselves in a certain way that triggers anger. So it could be someone trespassing one of our limits, trespassing our values, or it could be that that person or ourselves, we have trespassed our own self-respect. And that's when anger comes up. And anger can be towards another person, but you can also be angry towards yourself for tolerating and allowing things that you know you shouldn't be allowing. So there can be anger towards other people and also anger towards yourself. But again, the most important question you can ask yourself when anger arises is, which limit has been trespassed and which limit do I need to establish or reestablish? It's like when you feel angry, go and look for the limit. Which is the limit that has been trespassed? What happened? What's the cost of all of this? And what's the limit that I need to establish or reestablish? So the next time you feel angry, it will happen because you're human. Instead of suppressing that anger, pretending that nothing happens, pretending that everything is okay, or exploding in anger, depending what your relationship to anger is. And here it's very important to signal that if you're a woman, you have been conditioned to not being allowed to even feel angry. Women are conditioned to suppress their anger, to pretend that everything is okay, to always smile, to always make sure that everything is nice and round. And we can be suppressing our anger so much as women. On the other hand, men are completely allowed to express their anger. It's actually one of the only emotions they're actually allowed to show. So men are not allowed to show sadness, not allowed to show fear. Things are changing and evolving, but traditionally there's still some residual beliefs around what a man or a woman is allowed to express or not in terms of emotion. So if you are a woman, there's a huge chance that you have been suppressing anger your whole life. And maybe you think you're sad, maybe you think you're scared, but in reality, it's anger. You're fucking furious. So when you feel angry, next time you feel angry, the invitation is to take a pause. Don't react immediately. Don't talk immediately. Don't do anything immediately. Just pause. Feel it fully. You're going to feel it in your body somewhere. For me, it's around my jaw. It's like around my hands, but especially my jaw. I'm like, "Urgh." Feel it fully in your body. You can express it in healthy ways, like, punching a pillow or going on a run, super intense run. You can journal, you can talk to someone that you trust. So let that emotion move, because remember, it's energy in motion. It wants to move, it needs to move. And then you want to sit with yourself and reflect upon which is the boundary that has been crossed, which is the limit that has been crossed and that I need to reestablish. Establish or reestablish. And then you're going to find that it's kind of like magical. Instead of having this crazy emotion, like super intense emotion in your body, you can be like, actually, I'm pissed off about that comment. That person should have never said that about me. It crossed a boundary and it crossed my self-respect, because we don't talk about that like that about me. For example, could be anything. And in that case, maybe you realized it was one comment, it was one phrase that made you feel that way. So what if now that you have this information from your anger that is telling you this phrase was absolutely out of place, it should have never happened? What if now that you have that information, you can talk to that person and tell them super calmly, hey, look, I really didn't appreciate what you said about me. You shouldn't be talking about me in that way. It's completely unfair. I have nothing to do with what you said, so please stop talking like that about me. I'm a completely different person. You got me completely wrong. If you think that's me, you got me completely wrong. And you can be super calm when you say this, with this voice. You shouldn't be talking like that about me. You don't need to scream. You don't need to slam a door. You don't need to go wild and crazy to express your anger. It can be very precise and very beautiful. And that way, with maybe one conversation about the one phrase that made you feel angry, you can reestablish the harmony inside of your inner world that feels like a limit, a boundary, or your own self-respect has been trespassed. So if you listen to anger carefully, you can create change in your life. And we could talk about changing small things, like a phrase, but we could also be the catalyst for change for big things. There are so many things that piss me off in this world that are so unfair, like discrimination, racism, misogyny, horrible things that are still there in the world. But we can use our anger as a catalyst for change. In that conversation, when someone all of a sudden shoots a racist comment, where someone all of a sudden says something that shows that they have a limiting belief about women or about the LGBTQ community, or shows that they're not in line with sustainability or whatever it might be, what I choose to do is I feel the anger coming up and I choose right there and then to say a phrase that shows to this person that they have just made a racist comment, a misogynist comment, a comment that doesn't support sustainability right there and then. So I use that anger coming up, and I have this, self-awareness muscle really, really trained by now. So I feel the anger coming up and immediately I can say a phrase. For example, if they say, yeah, well, man, your boss is a man, but man or a woman, I'm going to add, or just say something that shows to the person that they shouldn't be saying the phrase they just said. For example, so with your anger, you can be changing things, very small things, but you could also be changing those big things where we still need to move the needle. So that's the first part on anger. Again, it's a very, very intense, but very useful emotion if we know how to use it. The second emotion is sadness. Sadness is related to the fact that your heart needs healing and acceptance. So if you think about it, those times in which you've been really, really sad, it's because you've lost something that you deeply cherished, deeply loved. And it can be something that you had and you lost, or it could also be something that you thought you would have and you lost the possibility of having that. For example, you were super excited about a job opportunity and in the end you didn't get that job. And that makes you feel sad because you really, really, really cherished that opportunity. And now it looks like you're not going to have it. So it could be something that you had and you lost, or something that you thought you would have and you lost the possibility of having it. So it shows that your heart needs some healing, some compassion, some love, some acceptance, because it is hard to go through a loss. So when sadness arises, just give yourself permission to grieve. Give yourself permission to be sad, because it is hard. Just bring all of the self-compassion and self-love that you have inside of you and bathe yourself with so much love, because it is hard. But the beautiful thing that I like to take from sadness is that, to me, sadness is a sign that you cared about something or about someone. If you are sad because you lost a person that you loved and that you still love, it's a sign that you deeply, deeply cared for them and that they were important in your life. Otherwise, you would just well, whatever, move on. I didn't really care about this person. So sadness is a sign that you cared. So the next time you do feel sadness, just allow yourself to go into that space. Just be sad. Put some really sad music on, some sad violins, and just have a good cry. It feels so good to have a good cry. You have that sense of renewal after a good cry. So cry, rest, seek comfort, seek for someone to hug you, hug your pet if you have a pet. And it is important to say here that men are conditioned to not feel sadness. There's this very, very silly phrase out there still that says that boys don't cry. But I'm going to say that men do cry. And it's okay to cry, because we're just processing that we deeply cared about something or someone. And also sadness, if we look into the beauty of this emotion, it's clearing up the space for something new to come into your life. It's clearing up the space for transformation. So there is something beautiful in this emotion. It's really hard to feel it, to go through it, but it's clearing up space for deep, deep transformation. I cannot tell you how many times after big moments of sadness and loss and moments in which everything was falling apart, then deep transformation and change came into my life. And without that sadness, without that pain, it would have never happened. So it's hard to go through it. But then when you look back, sometimes you can even be grateful that those things happened. They broke your heart in so many little pieces. but now your heart has kind of reshuffled itself and it now looks very different than it did before, but it is very beautiful. So that's regarding sadness. It's not an easy emotion. And the third emotion that we're going to cover, which is disgust, it's not an easy emotion either. Disgust is related to your boundaries and to your personal integrity. So when disgust comes up, and it's really visceral, when this visceral emotion comes up, it shows that there's something that feels repulsive, horrible. Whether that's a situation, a behavior, an idea, you just feel like, ugh, that's like gross, horrible, like, ugh. And basically, this emotion shows that that thing that you're disgusted with, that you feel repulsive with, it's out of alignment with who you are. It's showing you this is so not you. This is so not you. And it shows you that that situation, behavior, idea, whatever it might be, must be removed completely from your life or avoided so that you can be aligned with your own values and with your own integrity. So next time you do feel disgust, just think, what's out of alignment? What's not me? What's out of alignment here? And then reflect, okay, how can I completely eliminate this thing if I can? Sometimes we can't. But if you can completely eliminate that thing, or if I can at least avoid it as much as possible, because this is so not in alignment with who I am. So what this disgust is trying to do is to protect your emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. It's trying to protect you, your integrity, who you are, by telling you that doesn't belong into your space, into your energy, that's not aligned with you. Let's remove that thing. Let's avoid that thing, that person, that situation, that idea. I remember that at some point, because as I'm talking about this, I'm having an example of a moment in which I felt so much disgust. And it was actually disgust, the emotion that pulled me out of a situation. So I do want to bring that to this episode. If you know about my story in 2021, before I had the beautiful relationship that I had now, I had several toxic and short-lived relationships. And in 2021, I was dating a Spanish guy while I was living in Madrid. And this person was so toxic. He had like horrible habits in place. He was eating junk food, drinking lots of alcohol, doing drugs. Like he was literally a disaster. He was literally a disaster. But he was really fun. And that part was attractive to me. We had a lot of fun together. We did lots of like crazy, adventurous things. So that part was attractive. But his habits were just like horrible, so not healthy, so not aligned with who I am and who I strive to be. And I remember that at some point in this relationship, towards the end, at some point, I looked at him and I was like, this person is disgusting. Like their habits, you know, the way his relationship to food, his relationship to alcohol, his relationship to drugs, the whole thing was just like disgusting. And I remember we were sitting in his couch and I looked at him and I had this sense of like repulsion, disgust. It was so intense. I couldn't even be like close to him. I was like, ew, gross. Like you are gross. That's what I was thinking in my mind. I was like, your habits, you are so gross. And I had never had that such strong disgust in my body. It was like repellent. Like I couldn't even be close to him. And it was a very interesting emotion because I'm not really used to feeling disgust. I'm always going to find something beautiful in people. I'm always going to find, you know, something that makes them unique, something that I appreciate in the person. I'm always, you know, more in a vibration of love and joy because we're having a nice conversation. And disgust is kind of like a foreign emotion to me, to be honest. But I remember feeling this emotion so vividly. And that was a clear message from my inner world saying, this person is not in alignment with your values, with who you are, with who you strive to be. Health is a really important value for me. I value health so much. I spend so much time taking care of my health, being, doing things for the long run, eating well, doing sports, doing meditation for the spiritual side of it, but also because it's helping my mental health, my physical health. Health is such a value for me. And then having this person who had nothing to do with health, it was like the complete opposite of health. It was distraction. I was grossed out. And that's basically one major thing that pushed me to leaving this person. So it was that deep sense of disgust. And it was such an interesting emotion. The fourth emotion that we're going to cover is fear. And I think this one, we're usually pretty used to feeling this. But this emotion, what I want to offer is a new perspective on fear because we know what fear is, we know how it feels, right? But I want to offer a new perspective on fear. Fear is actually linked to courage and growth. So basically, fear arises every time you're doing something that your subconscious mind considers as not safe. So the role of your subconscious mind is to keep you alive and safe. And it hates change because change is scary and not safe. It prefers familiar hells over unfamiliar heavens. So the very interesting thing about fear is that we feel it, right? And many times, because it can freeze us, many times we get frozen and we stay there and we don't move. We're frozen there. But what if we could think of fear as just a sign that you are growing, just a sign that you are stepping a little bit outside of your comfort zone, just a sign that you're trying something new and it's normal to feel a little bit scared. Just a sign that you're transforming yourself. What if, instead of thinking that fear is a negative emotion that frees us and keeps us right where we are, what if fear was a positive emotion? What if fear is showing you that you're expanding, you're growing, you're trying something new? What if we could be excited that we are feeling a bit scared because we're growing? So, and just as I say this, I'm like, nice. Like, I think that's such a refreshing perspective on fear. Because for so long, and especially when I was in my corporate job and all of my 12-year career in marketing, I felt so much fear, so much stress in my body on a daily basis. And many of my actions were always guided by fear. I'm going to send this email or otherwise I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to send this email or otherwise I'm going to miss this deadline. I'm going to send this email or otherwise they're going to think X. I'm going to send this email. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this project or otherwise my boss is going to say this. And it was always out of fear, always out of what will happen if I don't do this or the other thing. And I remember that when I decided that I wanted to change and I wanted to become a business owner, become a coach, fear came up so strongly. It was a wall in front of me. And I had to walk through that fear very, very slowly because it was hard. There was a lot of fear. But what if we could think about that fear as, well, you are stepping outside of what you have been doing your whole life. You are trying something new. So it's normal that you feel scared. But let's also celebrate that you feel scared because you are trying something new. You're alive. You are alive. You're growing. You're changing. So what if we could be happy and excited when we feel a little bit scared? It's a sign that you're alive. It's a sign that you're growing. And as you've probably heard, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing what you want to do, even if there's fear in there. So many times, I remember when I hired my first coach, I was really scared to make that investment. It was $3K, a little bit less than $3,000. It was a lot of money for me back then. Now I've completely changed my relationship to money, and $3K, it's not that much. But at that point, it was a lot of money and I was scared to put my card on a coach I had met online who I intuitively know that she had something for me. I intuitively know that I would grow a lot by working with her. But it was 3K and I didn't, I thought about it, I chew my fear. I walked through that fear and I did it anyways. And that was the best investment I have ever done on myself because I learned so much about how to set up a coaching business, so much. And if I could do it all over again, I would do it all over again and I would do it faster than I did it. I would start before I did it because I learned so much. So fear is just a sign of growth. And the fifth emotion that we're going to cover is joy. Okay, this one, it's an emotion that we like a little bit more. It's one of those that it's like categorized as a good emotion, quote unquote good, just because it's easier to feel it and it's more pleasurable to feel it. But as we know, it's just a sign. So the same way, and the Buddhist teachings tell us a lot about this, the same way we're not attaching ourselves to all of those quote unquote negative emotions. So we don't want to be attached to the quote unquote positive emotions because otherwise we become a little bit addicted to the joy and the happiness and the love, and we become addicted to those quote unquote positive emotions. What joy is trying to tell you is that you are aligned. You are aligned and you are living in your fullest expression. So joy comes up when you are living in alignment with your true self. You know, those moments of joy, those moments of flow, when you lose track of time, you're connected to your passion, you're living authentically. Joy is a sign that you are on the right path. It's a sign that you're aligned with your highest self. And let me give you 2 examples of that. The first example is when I was working still in my corporate job and I had already launched my podcast. What I would do is I would work super, super hard on my corporate job from Mondays to Thursdays, sometimes doing a little bit more extra hours so that then I could have my Friday free of calls to actually work on my business. And then on Fridays was the day in which I would record the first episodes of Blistopia podcast back in 2022. And I would also publish the episodes and do things just for my business, basically. And one of the things that really showed me that I had to take this leap of faith, that I really, really wanted to change, was that during the week, from Monday to Thursday, the whole week, I was feeling, scared the whole time, stressed the whole time, was pushing myself like super hard. And then on Fridays, when I would start working on the podcast, I would have like a bit more relaxed, creative day. I was so joyful. I remember that the days would just like go by so fast because I was having so much fun and I felt so joyful. So that was a sign that those Fridays working on the podcast were in alignment with me, were in alignment with my highest self, were connected to my passion, were connected to my authenticity. And I just felt it the same way week after week, Monday to Thursdays, fear, stress, overwhelm, Fridays, joy, creativity. Monday to Thursdays, fear, stress, overwhelm. Fridays, joy and creativity. Week after week after week after week. And just feeling my emotions gave me such a good indication that I was on the right path. That Blistopia, that back at that time was just an idea. And it was, just a creative endeavor because I wanted to share everything that I had learned on spirituality and meditation. And I wanted to help other people be happier. That was my true calling. That was what I came here to do. And let me give you another example that is coming up right now. This week is the week of my period. So as you can imagine, I don't have a lot of energy. I don't have the same energy that I have during other weeks of the month. This is more the moment when my body needs to rest, to chill, when I typically don't look so pretty. It's that week when I don't look so pretty. Then there's other weeks when I do look pretty. Anyways, all of that to say that I woke up this morning, I was feeling with very, very, very low energy. I was like, my God, how am I going to be able, to put some makeup, record an episode? It was an effort. But at the same time, I will be traveling for the next couple of weeks. So I want to have those podcasts recorded and published so that I can travel and still have the podcast coming up, but I won't be doing that while I'm traveling. And I've been recording this episode now for 40 minutes, and the level of energy that I have right now is over the roof. I feel so happy, aligned. I feel joy. And that's the message of joy. I didn't have that much energy when I woke up this morning. And now, because I'm doing what I love, because I'm doing something that is aligned with my highest self, with my passion, because I'm being authentic, the joy is coming up. So joy is an indication of alignment. So next time you feel joy, embrace it, allow it to expand. Joy is a very contagious energy, and it's one of the highest vibrations and emotions that a human can have next to love. Joy is a very high energy, and it is contagious because higher energies have power over lower energies. So next time you feel joy, just share that around. Be nice to your neighbors, be nice with your colleagues, be nice with your partner, be nice to your pet. Just be nice to people around you. Share a smile. Next time you feel joy, let it flow through your creativity. Let it infuse your relationships. Let it infuse your work. Fun. So what I would recommend you to do is to start paying a lot of attention. And every time you feel joy, just follow that joy. Spend a bit more time doing that thing. If you start doing some sport and all of a sudden you feel amazing, just spend more time doing it. If you're really curious about a topic and you just want to learn everything about that topic, follow your joy, because your higher self is waiting on the other side of joy, and it's giving you signs to come meet her, to come meet him. So I hope you loved this episode. I hope you can feel the shift in energy also as we walk through this episode. And that's the message of joy. I do know that some emotions are a little bit less pleasant, like anger, sadness, disgust, fear. Some other emotions are a little bit more pleasant, like joy. But in any case, pleasant or not pleasant, they are sending you a sign, they're sending you a message. So they're always useful. So next time you feel any emotion, instead of avoiding them, instead of pretending that they're not there, lean in, lean in, lean in, lean in. Sit with yourself, feel your emotions, lean into your emotion, make it bigger, expand it, and find that pearl of truth that emotion is bringing for you, because you have inside of you all of the answers that you're looking for. And the only way you can find those answers is by going through the emotion, finding that pearl of truth in the middle of the wave. I hope you really, really enjoyed this episode. You found it insightful. If you want to be more in tune with yourself, with your emotions, with your inner world, you want to understand what these emotions are trying to communicate to you and then make changes in your life accordingly, then you should definitely consider joining the Blistopia one-on-one life transformation program. Inside of this 4-month private program, you will get to know yourself at the deepest level and turn your dreams into your reality. You will commit for 4 months to manifesting your dream life, and you will gain solid self-awareness, understand your emotions, understand your identity, your values, your strength, your priorities in life, and your desires. You will dream big, tune in with yourself, and define what success and happiness mean to you and no one but you. You will understand how to bridge your current life with its current emotions with your dream life, with the emotions that you want to be feeling on a daily basis. You will be able to take action and make your dreams actually happen. Inside of this program, you will choose one topic that you want to up level in your life, and we're going to take it to the next level. You can focus on topics like designing your life, developing your spirituality, and deepening in your money mindset. So if you're ready to transform your life forever, then I am waiting for you inside of the Blistopia one-on-one life transformation program. We have spots to start now in January. The link is in the show notes. I will see you inside of the Blistopia one-on-one life transformation program. I will see you on the next episode. And in the meantime, in Blistopia we trust.